I have a thing for small computers. Take, for instance, this Panasonic Let's Note CFS51, a Pentium 2 laptop I recently acquired that looks quite modern. Or that time that I made a joke about my Dell Inspiron 3252 being able to fit in the backseat of a car. Or that time that I got a ultra slim HP compact intending to make a third video on it, which never surfaced. The point is, I think small PCs are funny and I like them. However, many of them are more similar to slim mini towers or still moderately sized. This thing, however, is not. This is the Lenovo ThinkCentre M73 Tiny, a thin client-like Lenovo desktop from around the Windows 8.1 days. So what's it like? How small really is it? And does the size compromise anything? Those are some great questions, so let's get started. Well, there is something I do need to address first, and that technically this PC is not mine. I'm not a thief because it's on loan to me. To make a long story short, my family thinks that it's finally time to retire the Dell Inspiron 3252s that have been in service in the family for like a decade at this point, and with my dad's recent use of a ThinkCentre M series SFF for a gaming build, he's opted to replace these crappy desktops with a thin client solution. One of them is already set up, in fact, while the one I have here is going to be put into my dad's barn for watching videos and stuff. Our story starts in October of 2014, when Lenovo introduced this thing. Labeled by Lenovo as a thin client, it was intended to be used alongside an all-in-one monitor. To quote the article itself, the clever part is the system's quote-unquote modular design that works with Lenovo's latest ThinkCentre Tiny product portfolio. The Tiny M73 and M53 thin clients, which will also be available separately, are attached to the back of the monitor unit through a hassle-free toolless process, allowing for easy and cost-effective future upgrades without needing to replace the display. The modular display would be available starting at around $279, with the M73 being offered at $299. As for some press insight, Karan Baha of the Economic Times stated that the review unit provided to the outlet came with a 4th gen Intel Core i5 processor, 4 gigs of RAM, and a 500GB storage solution. The bottom line is that it could play full HD videos without any issues, and the outlet was able to additionally run Photoshop and similar programs. One issue with it was that it used an external power supply, which was similar to a laptop one. The bottom line was that for the price, the ThinkCentre M73 proves to be a great machine for both consumers and SMBs. It was also noted that at the same price, the Dell new Inspiron 3647 offered similar hardware but with a larger hard drive. So arguably, it doesn't seem that bad. Looking at the one we have right here in front of us, it is actually quite small. Here's it compared to a Mac Mini from the time. And as you can see, its footprint is smaller than the Mac Mini. When it comes to ports and whatnot, on the front, there's the power button, a USB port, 2 audio jacks, and another USB port. On the rear, there's the Wi-Fi antenna, another USB port, an Ethernet jack, a serial port, VGA, the Kensington lock, the keyboard USB port, another, oh, come on, you know, I'm gonna just get a pen at this point. Another USB port, display port, and the power jack. It's a bit interesting getting into this thing. To get to the internals, you have to unscrew things from the rear, and at first I thought it was just take this bit up. However, that's not the case. You slide this bit of the case outwards, including the bezel, similar to old computers from the 90s and whatnot, or my compact Evo D500. Now, something I've noted on the rear is that it's missing audio jacks, which, while I understand that this thing was intended to be used with an all-in-one monitor, that isn't a good sign for me. The reason I bring this up is because of this thing's audio situation, and boy oh boy, it is not good. Normally with most of my computers, I use external speakers. They may not sound the best, but they're what I have on hand and they've worked for a solid decade. But since I can't really use them at first on here, at least ideally, it means we're relegated to the relatively crappy internal speaker. And boy oh boy, it doesn't sound good. This is what it sounds like playing a song I've listened to countless times on full blast, and while you can probably hear it quite clearly, again, this is with 2 softer things set to full volume. And this is mainly up close. If you were a bit away from the PC, say my room's distance, this is what it would sound like. On relatively average and medium volume settings in both programs, it's basically inaudible from the same distance. it does get better when you plug in a speaker into the headphone jack. But it still just frustrates me when I have to use a headphone jack to plug in speakers where Windows recognizes it as a pair of headphones. And while there's situations where some PCs I have don't have built-in audio jacks, at least those things have room for expansion, such as my Dell Dimension L667R having a Sound Blaster card installed in it. So now let's put this thing through its paces with what it's probably going to be used for: web browsing and watching videos. I've got thermals being monitored in an additional window here just to get an idea, and thermally, though I can't really tell exactly what temperatures this is, it doesn't seem too bad. However, when doing more consistent and constant web browsing, it starts to warm up a bit. It isn't anything that is inherently concerning. It'd be a different thing if it was warming up to 80 degrees Celsius, but here it's just like around 60 degrees. And YouTube will play perfectly fine, and it also plays quite smoothly in 1080p. The M73 Tiny is also not compromised by this thermally, which is even better. So now I think we should look at games on this thing. With gaming, I'm going to be a lot more lenient on the games I play because this is not my PC and I don't want to cause any sort of thermal issues, if any of those may arise. To start off, we've got Peggle, a game I've showcased so many times and I've grown to expect it to perform at least smoothly. This time, it was not smooth. For some odd reason, the frames per second was lower than I'm expected to it, and it really goes to show on camera. I'm not recording in a different frame rate. This is actually how slow the game actually looks. It's still relatively playable, but more of a minor agitation of mine. Likewise, here's it on my old crappy HP laptop for reference. It looks a lot smoother, and I record both video clips at the same frame rate. This anomaly in gaming aside, most of their stuff actually was quite tolerable in terms of gameplay. The Jeweled Twist was running flawlessly. It took a bit of time to load, but that's kind of normal, and it's not like it was laggy during the main gameplay or anything. It was perfectly fine. And while the PC was perfectly fine playing Plants vs. Zombies, I personally probably wasn't. I've rarely showcased this game despite its iconic status, and it's primarily because I personally don't think it's for me. I find it very stressful, and I think a great example of that would be in the last level I played, featuring walnuts. Yeah, to put it bluntly, I had to take a break after recording this game because, to put it simply, my hands were borderline out of control shaking, I had a relatively high heart rate during this gameplay, and my phone was also getting kind of warm, and so best to take a break. But hey, it's better to get used to it now before I play it in Windows 8.1 in twilight 6. Next up is something I'm a lot more comfortable with: Portal. This game was running very smoothly, which I found quite impressive and nice. At least until the game crashed while trying to load a new map. I at first thought this was some sort of memory leak or bug in the game, but to put it simply, the cause of it doesn't matter because I simply ran the game under Windows XP compatibility mode and it worked like a charm. It was able to load maps now. And yep, it is fairly smooth for such a small and low power CPU that this thing has. That being said, Intel HD graphics from the Haswell era, while not perfect due to being integrated graphics, have aged like fine wine in my opinion. A lot of older things and basic tasks will work under them flawlessly, compared to say Socket T. And last but not least is Touhou 14, double dealing character. In the past I would look at Touhou 13, but to put it simply, that is more Windows 7 era than I expected. But Touhou 14 is fairly easy. I should say I'm using a replay of my own gameplay here, but I was able to get through stage 1 flawlessly, but stage 2 started to get difficult. Regardless, I was able to beat Sekibanki, who has one of the better boss themes in my opinion. However, I wasn't able to get through stage 3. But hey, I'll probably get it over time. And so that's that. So to conclude, the Lenovo ThinkCentre M73 Tiny is arguably not that bad of a computer. It has solid graphics performance and thermals packed into a relatively small package. And for web browsing, which is what this thing is going to be used for, it's great. Even on Windows 8.1. I presume it'd be a lot better on, say, Linux or BSD. The only thing that's really marred my experience is the audio situation. Anyway, do you have one of these? If so, what's your thoughts on it? Do you think I should get one for myself? I'm quite fascinated by this, and again, this PC is on loan to me. Do you think that there's a better option that you would choose compared to the M73 Tiny? If so, what option? Did you enjoy this video, or is there something I forgot to address or something I could do to improve my content? If you have anything to say, feel free to let me know down below in the comment section, in my email, or through my Discord server, and feel free to give this video a like. But that's going to do it for this video, so thanks for watching and have a nice day.